Hi, welcome back to the McCall's Quilting Summer Garden Quilt-Along. I'm Laura Roberts and I'm on this adventure with you. And today you're going to start making your edge blocks. And in the edge blocks, we're going to have two sections just like we did before, where we have corner units and the side units or edge units. So today I'm going to show you how to put together your corner units. So you've known how to make this unit. We've done this before. Just a refresher, you draw a line, diagonal line on the back of that 2.5 inch square. You put it on your 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangle like that. Make sure you're lining the edges. You sew right on the line, trim, flip, and press, and that's how you make these units, okay? So I'm not going to show you that right now because you already know how. So instead, I'm going to show you how this gets put together. Okay, so first, this guy gets sewn to this guy. And I'm actually going to go over and I'm going to sew these today. I'm just going to sew them all together and show you what it looks like. Okay? So, I'm not pinning this. Let me not regret it. Just because it's, there we go, get those threads out of the way. Because 2 squares, I should be able to just sew them, don't you think? Oops, I've got a thread in the way. There, my trusty little scissors, there we go. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to sew that like that and take it out. Okay, and I'm going to press it. Remember, if you put the dark patch up, when you press it open, that seam allowance will go right under the dark one, like that. Okay, so looking at this, the finished one, you'll be looking at your diagram. I know that I need to put that blue to my right. Bring this guy down. Okay. This is so fun, it's so easy. When you're doing these at home, you're going to be making 4 of them per block. So you can chain piece like crazy. And it goes together really quickly when you do that. All right. This machine has a setting that lets it go the speed of light. And I don't want to really hit that today. There we go. Get those edges aligned, the corners right where I want them. And just stitch right on down, like that. Ta-da. And then cut. I'm just going to put this guy under here now. Oops. There we go. Okay. When I'm pressing this one open this time, oops, that weird thread. When I press it open this time, it's going to have the light one on top, but that's because I want the seam allowance to go over under here so it's not making an extra layer with the seam allowance that's already there. Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to put it back here, and if you look at your diagram, you'll see that these two go together next. Okay, so I'm just going to flip that over. I think if you are worried about getting the right thing in the right place, in the right order, it helps to lay it out. And then you can pick them up one at a time if you want to. Once you've done a couple of these, you'll just be doing them really quickly and you'll have it all, you'll be so used to it by then. There we go. Okay, make sure those corners match up. I'm just going to run right along here. There we go. Okay. Now, just like the corner blocks, when you do these edge blocks, you're going to have 4 different colorways. Now, if you look at the quilt, you'll see that they aren't all the same. The piecing is the same, and obviously the assembly and all that is the same, but the fabrics are different depending on which one you're making. Okay, so the next piece to put on, I'm going to put this one on next. So that means I have to sew this guy to that guy. Okay, whoops. You ever had your glasses not land on your face the way they're supposed to? That's pretty weird. Okay. But I'm not driving. Wouldn't that be something? Driving along, you grab your sunglasses and they end up on the side of your nose or something. Yeah, things like that happen to me. All right. There we go. Okay. So when I sew this one onto this one, before I do it, I'm going to just kind of try to remind myself, where was that seam allowance? Well, that seam allowance is going that way. Okay, so when I press this one, I want that seam allowance to go that way, so they're going to be nesting into one another when I'm sewing them together. So I'm going to start from the back. There we go. And give it a good pressing. Okay. Same thing, I'm going to make sure it's in the right place and just flip it over there onto its buddy. And this time I'm going to pin because I want to make sure that I get that just right. So you remember how you can just kind of work that in? You've got those seam allowances and they just nudge up against each other and kind of lock. So you're going to do that. This may just be old hat to you and you may be super comfy doing this already. But if you're a new quilter and things are new to you, that's always kind of, those are the kind of things that after you've made like half a quilt, that's just second nature. You're so used to feeling for that. Okay, so I'm just going to put in a couple pins. Back over here. Here we go. Little thread dude. I don't know what that's supposed to be called. Thread catcher, maybe? Thread. What else could it be? Yeah, okay. So I know that I pinned that for those guys aligned. I'm just going to feel, there we go. I know they're still there. Ha, ha. The pin comes out. Yay! There are some rules in quilting that are really smart. For instance, one thing that's really important, when you are using a rotary cutter, you need to learn to shut it every single time. You make a cut, you close your rotary cutter. Okay, and there are other rules about rotary cutters. For instance, you never cut towards yourself. You don't cut when you're tired. Don't use a rotary cutter when you're upset. I know that sounds kind of like, you know, no heavy machinery, but once many years ago, I was in a hurry. That's another thing, you don't want to be rotary cutting when you're in a hurry. And I was just making fast cuts, and I just went, oh, you know, and I cut to myself, toward myself. I went here, here, and toward myself. Well, my little finger was over the edge of the ruler, and I cut off the end of my little finger. And I did it again 10 years later. So fortunately, they just stick it back on and it reattached, but I can't feel it. So anyway, there are some rules, they make sense. And one of them is not sewing over pins. Okay, so I'm just going to press this open. All right, like that. And now I'm going to sew this one on. If you just want to whip through this really quickly, you could sew this one on before you press that one, because it's not touching. So you could go ahead and just sew that one on and press them both at the same time. If you want to do, if you're trying to just be quick about it and you don't want to stop and press when you don't absolutely have to, that's a time when you don't have to. Okay. I did not pin this one because it's a straight little edge and I don't have any points to match. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that's aligned. Way down over here. Make sure all my edges are aligned, like that. There we go. Woo! I don't drive like that, most of the time. Okay, there we go. Again, you're not going to be using the green thread like I am. I'm using green thread so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to be probably using cream thread. I think cream or maybe a soft gray, because that would blend in well with the florals and the pretty things. Okay, so I have only one more strip to do. And it's super quick and easy, just like the other ones. The only thing is, I want to make sure that I get my seam allowances not sewn the wrong direction. So what I will do, I will put a pin in at either end, like that, and like that. Come on, dingy. Cooperate. There. I almost said good dog. Yes, I talk to fabric. What can I say? I talk to fabric, I pet fabric. I love fabric. Okay. I will say that one of my sisters once, when I was talking about petting fabric, she said, "You pet fabric? What does that mean?" I said, "It means I love it and I touch it, and I, sometimes I go in and I visit my fabric stash and I'll just pet them." I think she thinks I'm a little nuts. Okay, pin. There. Now what I've done differently here, you may have noticed, I don't have the strip on top. This time I have the pieced part on top so I can make sure I get the seam allowances to lie down the way I press them. Because sometimes, you're sewing a strip on and then one will be this, it'll be like that, and you get that weird thing. So I want to make sure I don't do that. I'm going to make sure I can just see the edge right there, make sure I have everything aligned, just like that, and away we go. Now I'm going to use my finger, you can use the awl, to just keep that seam allowance down the right direction, like that. If all the seam allowances were going the same direction, I could put the whole thing into the machine with the strip on top, as long as I was doing it in the direction so that the seam allowances would lie down. But these aren't all going in the same direction, so I'm doing it this way. There we go. Right over, this is a thick one because there are lots of seam allowances there. I'm going to use the awl to just kind of flatten that and not stitch on the awl. There, that way on the front I won't have a weirdo bump. And the pin is gone. There we go. Snip and snip. And there's something to think about. I know I mentioned it before. You want to get a pair of scissors or snips that you're very comfortable with and that you can use forever. There are a bunch of them online that you can take a look at the Quilt and Sew Shop. So if you're, just think about it. They make your life much easier. Okay, I'm just going to press. I'm going to set the seam this time because I'm crossing so many other things. I didn't press the other seams, set them, but I do on this one just because so much is happening. Again, I'm going to press the seam allowance away from the seam allowances that have already been sewn. So I can make this as flat as possible. Okay, and there it is. Oh, you're going to make 4 of these per block. They're going to be 4 different fabric arrangements, and that's your homework. I want you to go ahead and make the 4 corner units for each edge block, and when I see you back here next time, we'll go ahead and make the little side unit for the edge blocks. So if you still don't have your kit, just go ahead and visit mccallsquilting.com/quiltalong so you can play along with the, these absolutely gorgeous Northcott fabrics that I've been playing along with. And that's a sweet little print, isn't it? This is the Charlotte collection. So I'll see you back here next time. I hope you have fun doing your homework. Go ahead and put on a book on tape and get yourself a nice cup of coffee, maybe a piece of chocolate, and have a lovely, lovely time. And it'll feel like summer with these fabrics, even if you're doing this in the middle of winter. So have fun. See you next time.